think we should be right to get started. Firstly, obviously, James, we appreciate from everyone, obviously, in the Gym Hub program, we appreciate you making the time today to share some insights, talk us through, your world as a fitness business owner. You've had a lot of success this year, and we're going to obviously talk about it and delve into it, and looking forward to hear some of the insights that you have to share. And everyone who's taken the time to dial in today, obviously welcome, and we appreciate everyone. Running businesses is tough, and you've taken the time to be here to hopefully learn and continue to grow. So that's something that we really appreciate at Gym Hub. So welcome all. All right, so we'll kick off. James, firstly, I think it's just the best for you to give a little bit of background on yourself. Just give us a bit of an overview where your career sort of kicked off, how you got into the position of owning a Vision Gym.
Yep. So I guess going back to, I think school is where I really got into, fitness or sport. So I've just grown up playing soccer from the age of 5 and just really enjoyed sport from a young age. Going through school, I never really enjoyed studying. Wasn't something for me, and basically just got into the gym at a really young age. Started lifting weights at the age of, 15, 16 years old. And I just decided that that's sort of what I wanted to get into in terms of a career, because that's what I enjoyed. So found out about personal training, got into that, did my Cert 3 and 4 when I was about 18. Then, got into the fitness industry, started at Fitness First, which didn't work out. But then I joined the boys at Linfield. And I think I was about 20 years old when I started there. I worked there.
The Vision, you're referring to the Vision, you joined Vision at Linfield?
Vision at Linfield, yeah, that's right.
Yep. Okay.
Started there and worked there for 3 years. And then the boys offered me the opportunity to buy Lane Cove, and I bought Lane Cove with them and been there for 4.5 years now.
So you took the plunge pretty early into business ownership. So you would have only been sort of early 20s when you took on the responsibility of running a gym, investing in a health club. Did you feel ready at the time?
Oh, I don't know if you can ever be ready to run a business. Do I think I was ready? In terms of, I guess, where I was at, I was ready for the next stage or step in my career.
Yeah, okay.
And the boys, mentor Chris and Mick, who I was working for at the time, they looked after me, they mentored me, they gave me the belief that I could do it. And then I felt like I was ready at the time. So, if that answers your question. Yeah.
And you're obviously a personal trainer first. Was there a few sort of key milestones that you needed to hit as a trainer before you felt, or the guys that you worked for at the time felt that you could actually take this on?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I just learned how to be, in their eyes, a good personal trainer. So getting results and looking after my clients. But once I started doing that really well, they just basically started dividing up the business into different areas for me. So I learned different aspects of the business whilst doing my PT. And they basically said, like, learn as much as you can here and make as many mistakes as you can in our business. And then, that's going to help you move forward into your own business. So they basically just gave me different roles in the business, like mentoring trainers, doing seminars and shopping tours, booking consultations, taking consultations, all that sort of stuff to be able to run your own business.
Yeah, fantastic. And how long have you owned that Lane Cove studio for now?
I've been there 4.5 years.
So you've owned the business now for 4.5 years?
Yeah.
I just wanted to move to the next point. I know you and I spoke at the start of the year. I think it was January and February when we actually first spoke, James, and you'd actually had a pretty tough 2018. You'd had a few things sort of not go your way, and you were starting the year really on the back foot. That's how it seemed when you came on board with Gym Hub, and you've really had quite a significant growth this year and a big turnaround. Can you just talk us through some of the events that happened last year? And if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the significant goals you've achieved in 2019 coming off the back of that?
Yeah, no worries. So in 2018, basically lost one of my business partners. So that was really hard to deal with because I guess in a business sense, you know, I guess he was there and he was helping me and I was helping him at the time. But personally, it was also affecting me as well because we're good mates or best mates. So that happened in 2018. And I guess I lost focus of the business and I stopped doing certain things that I was doing before, which I guess, put me off. And then
can you give us a little insight? What were some of those things that you actually that fell by the wayside when your focus sort of lapsed? What were some, you know, one or two of the specific things?
Yeah, so the simple things like making sure you're in the studio for long enough or being in the business. Like I was going home early and just, you know, I guess running away from it all. I wasn't spending time with the trainers, helping them develop and grow. I wasn't spending time on the business. I stopped training. Just all the basic things. Just talking to clients in the studio, getting feedback off them. All those things just stopped happening, and the business went backwards.
Okay, and just give us a bit of perspective when you say it went backwards. You know, what was the actual damage of that? Did you lose 10% of your clients, or you know, from a figures point of view, what actually happened to the business?
Yeah, so we were doing almost 500 sessions a week, and we actually dropped down to 350 sessions.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you lost 150 personal training sessions a week, left your business in that time.
Yeah.
And you feel that had a direct relation to your lack of focus. You weren't as engaged with your staff, with the clients. So maybe from a cultural point of view, things started to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
So coming off the back of that, 2019, can you tell us what's been some significant achievements this year and how you sort of transition from that headspace in 2018 to where you are now?
Yeah, so I guess like I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I've got Mick and Chris who are still there in business with me. And so they, you know, they pulled me aside and, you know, spoke to me about what I wanted and helped me get back on the right path. But I set some goals, some personal goals for myself. I set myself a goal of running my first marathon, which I just completed back in September this year. And then, thank you. Bloody hurt as well. And then I set some business goals. So getting the studio back to 400 sessions and just developing myself as well was part of the reason why I joined Gym Hub, was to start working on myself and developing my own growth and achieving goals myself to, I guess, inspire the team and lead the team to be better.
Okay. So you set yourself a few personal goals there. You wanted to run a marathon, which you've done, well done, and you want to grow the business back up over 400 personal training sessions a week. Have you been successful in hitting? Great. So where have you managed to get it to this year?
So we just got back to 400 sessions. And now we're back at our direct debits just hit 22,000 per week.
Per week. Excellent.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
So do you feel that at the start of the year, obviously you weren't in a great headspace. You set some business goals. Do you feel that those personal goals that you set were just as impactful in the business? Like, as you running a marathon, how does that help the business grow?
Yeah, definitely. So I found that having that goal of the marathon it inspired my team to want to do it with me.
Okay.
So I actually
Yep.
had each of my trainers either do the half or the full marathon with me. And we ended up getting 30 clients to attend the Blackmores half and full marathon. So, and then it created a cultural shift in the studio. So other clients saw what I was achieving and what the other clients were achieving. And it's made them go, okay, well, I want to do that now because I've seen someone else do it. Just getting more people to the run club, which has created a massive culture shift in the studio.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think it's something for the group to really take away. I think you're, as a leader in a business, I think we underestimate how much the staff actually do look to us for inspiration and guidance. And I think it's often an example of what we do that sets the standard for the business, not the things that we say. You know, you setting that large goal probably started to embed a little bit of a seed in your staff to put themselves outside their comfort zone, just to push a little harder, to set themselves a few stretch goals, which is going to build and in turn result in a lot of momentum in your business. So I think that's a really important takeaway. And, you know, I'm really interested in the fact that I asked you what were some of the key goals that you set for the year to grow your business. And I was probably anticipating that you'd give me some business goals first, but you actually said that goal first, which means that was probably the most important thing that you've done this year for your business and for yourself, which is pretty cool. You just mentioned your trainers there and the culture. I want to talk about them now. I know how important you know, recruitment is in a PT studio, and I would assume that everybody on the call here today has, you know, personal trainers working within their business at some capacity. What do you look for in a good trainer? And you know, is there a specific recruitment process that you have?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, what I look for and what I've recently changed is I just look for good people. Previously, when I was hiring trainers, you know, I was asking them about their experience and, you know, how many hours they've done before and where they've worked and all that sort of stuff. But I'm now asking more questions about who they are as a person and if they've helped people previously, and questions about their background, their family. So I really just look for a good person. And the structure that we use, so Vision have a pretty good structure in the sense of like a presentation. So I actually show them a presentation of what Vision provide for the trainer, their career, their growth, what they can expect. But then I get the team involved in the recruitment process as much as possible. So recently I've had a couple of different trainers sit in on interviews with me, just to ask questions or listen to, I guess, what the trainer is saying when I ask the questions, and then get them involved in the studio as well. So I'll actually get the person coming in for an interview to take a PT session with the trainer, and the trainer then to give me feedback and give the other trainer feedback, just to see how they get along with the team. Yeah.
So there's a few stages in that process before you ultimately make the decision if this is someone that you want to represent you and your business. Just curious, you mentioned you get your trainers or you get your staff involved in the recruitment process and getting them to sit in the interviews. I think it's just a really interesting point. But how has that, or how did that come about, and what advantage do you feel that gives you in the recruitment process?
Yeah, so I guess because previously when I'd hired staff, I think I was hiring them too quickly after first meeting them, and I was finding that, you know, the trainers weren't involved in that process, and I just felt that, you know, as a team, as a personal training team or a studio, the team have to get along, because if they don't, if you've got one trainer who doesn't get along with everyone else, it does create a bit of a, I guess, a rift or a bit of poison in the team. And like, I've got a few guys in the team now who want to start learning about the business, and I thought, well, why not get them involved in that process, because it's such an important process to understand. So that's how that came about. Yeah, just getting them involved a little bit more, and it was more about actually teaching them, like getting the trainers to learn, what the recruitment process is about. And I've found that it's really created that buy-in from the team. Like their thought, or I guess their input really matters to me.
Right. So there's a bit of a win-win there. So you're getting feedback on the candidate, which is positive for you in the recruitment process, but you're also giving your trainers an opportunity to learn and grow, which is important for them to maintain their engagement and focus in the business.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's sort of there's a double win there, which I think is really, really cool. You've obviously you really pride yourself on developing your team, and one of the things that you mentioned that resulted in not a great 2018 was you weren't spending as much time with them, you weren't as focused on your trainers and helping them develop and grow, and you directly relate that to why your business suffered last year. So you obviously value sort of developing and growing your team. Can you just share with us, 2 or 3 things that you do on a weekly or monthly basis to actually upskill the people that work for you, your trainers?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess the first thing would be actually spending time with them. So just, I do one-on-one meetings with our trainers every Tuesday. And this is a chat I actually had with you, John, about how to deliver a better one-on-one. And so they basically now are setting their own goals. And in one of their questions for their one-on-ones, what they need to do, or what's expected of them, is to let me know what they really need help with. Whether it's a simple exercise or coaching a client into setting goals or something about nutrition. I want them to let me know what I need to be spending the time with them, or what I need to be doing with them. So I'll get an understanding of what they really want from me, and then make sure that I book in that time with the trainer in the week and tick off that goal, or tick off that box that they're looking to achieve. The second one is feedback. So making sure the trainers are getting their feedback from the clients. So I'll do goal session feedback from each client to understand what they're really enjoying, or what needs to be better in the session. But also developing them. So Vision actually offer what's called a level up program. So with the career path they have with Vision, they get to go to different seminars and workshops. So they have an advanced lifting and technique, nutrition, advanced nutrition, or coaching seminar that they can go to. And I just find out, which seminars or workshops they really want to go to. And there's some steps involved as to how they can get there. And I basically just spend the time with them, helping them do that. So to answer your question, it's just about understanding what their needs are and where they need to develop, and then taking the time out of your diary or out of your week to help them grow.
Yep. And when you're constantly getting in front of them every Tuesday, you're really learning a lot about them in that time, aren't you? Because you're constantly asking them questions about, like you said, where do you want to go? What do you need help with? So that time sort of breaks down a lot of those barriers, and just like the client that you're seeing regularly, you learn more and more about them over time, and the more you know about them, I suppose, the more you can offer them the help that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in terms of, building a relationship with your trainers as well, it's like they're like your clients, really. So you need to build that trust, and it's, you need to spend time with them. I feel like you need to spend time with them in the studio developing them, but also outside of the studio. So like on a Friday, I'll sometimes take the team out for bowling. I recently went and played golf with one of our other trainers, and you just talk about stuff outside of work and get a better understanding of what they're going through personally. So they feel like they can actually approach you and ask you for help, and they trust you a little bit more.
Right. So just in summary, you say that the important parts of developing your team are spending the time, having regular meetings with them, allocating time out of your diary to help them with where they want to progress to, and developing a bit more trusted relationship with them, spending time outside of work with them so that they start to trust and sort of believe in you essentially as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. And obviously with the growth that you've had this year, you've increased your member base, you've increased your direct debit, your sessions.
Yep.
I've got no doubt that the time that you've put into your team has assisted in that growth. But has there been other things that you've done, you know, from a marketing or sales point of view that have helped you attract new members?
Yeah, we've definitely spent more money on our marketing.
Okay.
And
yeah,
yeah, spend more money on the marketing. But in terms of the marketing, not really. Our biggest problem that we had was our retention. So we were losing a lot of clients, and I had a lot of staff turnover as well. This year I've only lost 2 staff this year. And that actually helped. That actually helped our studio, because those 2 staff weren't doing their job and they weren't good for the team. So moving those 2 trainers on was definitely a win. But yeah, to be honest, it's more so just spending the time with the team, and spending a bit more money on the clients that are currently at our studio.
Yeah. So ensuring that they're having a really good experience, you've got a good culture and community with your team, and that has sort of on the flow-on effect from that has been you've got more members as a result of trainers and your culture.
Yeah.
And from this point moving forward, like where are you aiming in the next 12 months? What are some of the big, you know, the 2 or 3 big things that you need to tick off, either personally as a business owner or in your business, so that you're in you're happy with where you are in, say, 12 months time?
Yep. So I recently just had this discussion with my business partners, and I currently own 50% of the studio. And the goal for me over the next 2 years is to purchase another 25%. So I'll have 75% in the next 2 years. And I have a manager starting in November. So the goal for me is to successfully train him up to be able to manage the studio, so that I can spend more time on my business rather than in my business.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you why purchasing another 25% of the business is important to you?
Well, I mean, I'm in there most of the time. Mick and Chris only come in a couple times a week. And the goal previously was for me and my other business partner, Drew, at the time, to actually have the studio 100%. So 50-50 each. But since he's gone and that hasn't gone to plan. So I actually sat down with him a couple of weeks ago and said, look, you know, this is what I'd like to do. And that's what came out of that conversation, because I'm in there most of the time.
And so you've been a business owner now for 4.5 years, which is enough time for you to kind of have some really good wins, but also experience some losses, which I think is really important to, you know, every business owner has to go through for their learning and development. We've got, you know, quite a few people on the call today who are all similar to you, have run businesses, some for longer periods of time, some for less. We're all wanting to grow. We're all wanting to grow ourselves as people. We're all wanting to grow people in our business and our business as a whole. What's a big lesson that you've really taken away and learned over the last 4.5 years that, you know, if you could only impart one bit of wisdom onto everyone else on this call, what would that be?
To never take your foot off the pedal. I think that when I got to 500 sessions, all that stuff happened with my business partner, but I got lazy and I stopped doing the things that I knew would help grow the business. And I thought, you know what, like, I'm here now, it'll be fine. I stopped doing them and the business went backwards. So for me, it's just to consistently look for ways to grow, and also develop yourself as a person and as a business owner.
I think that's really, that's a great point. Often a successful business is just made up of the sum of all the little things that we do consistently to a high standard. And it's really easy sometimes when we achieve a big goal to think that we don't need to maintain that standard anymore because we are where we want to be. It's often the things that got us to where we want to be, the things that are going to keep us there or allow us to keep growing. And it's always a good thing thing to remind ourselves of that, so we don't let those little things slide.
Yeah.
How 4.5 years in business, and you know, I've owned a Vision gym. That's where I started my fitness business career, and I ran one for about 5.5 years, and I know how tough they can be in managing a lot of staff, a lot of sessions, and it can be a high turnover business if you're not keeping your finger on the pulse, and very draining. So how do you keep yourself motivated week in, week out to turn up, spend the time with the trainers, have the important conversations, have the tough conversations? How do you stay energized to do all that?
Yeah, good question. I guess I think it's what I've done recently really well is I've found that work-life balance. When I first bought the business, I was in there all the time, and I ran low on energy. So I think it's just important to know, you know, how you're feeling, and when you do need to step outside of the business and take a bit of time to relax. Like right now, you can see I'm actually at home. So Thursdays are my day where I finish early and I do stuff from home, and I don't have any distractions. So I think it's just really important to know where you're at in terms of your energy, and to reach out to people as well. Like, business is fucking lonely, and it's important to talk to people about where you're at. And, you know, if you don't have business partners, I guess it's a question of who can you reach out to and talk to, and get advice off and tips off. And I think that's one of the great things about Gym Hub is there's a lot of business owners on here, and you can reach out to someone if you do need to have a chat. So definitely, you know, knowing where you're at in terms of energy, but also something that I've done recently and I wasn't doing before was just, you know, developing myself. This year's the first year I ever read a book, believe it or not. And I've just found that, you know, reading a book and learning more is achieving is just, it motivates me. So it actually makes me want to do better. And yeah, I mean, just remember why you bought a business and why it's important to you. I've also got a lot of debts to pay as well. So that's another motivator.
Nothing like a bit of financial pain to get us going, that's for sure. What was the book?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. One of the best books.
Oh, right.
Well, it's my only book that I've read, so it is the best so far.
And any plans to read another book?
Yeah, I'm actually reading. I'm reading Legacy at the moment by James Kerr. Yeah.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you actually, you know, what you do to regularly upskill and develop yourself, but you've sort of just answered that. So you've just gotten into reading books, and obviously you're looking to continue that, which is good. From a session point of view, you just cracked over 400 sessions. Do you see more growth in your business in the next sort of 6 to 12 months? Is there a ceiling in your business, or are you looking to really, you know, push past a few barriers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely want to get back to that 500 session mark, especially bringing on a manager now. It's going to cost us a bit more money to have a manager. So yeah, the goal is to get the studio back to 500 sessions. And
just lastly, I want to ask you one last little thing before I open it up to the group. But you recently took a trip to Bali. You had a holiday. I think is great, and just wanted to know, you know, how that holiday went, how long you went for, and what you found happened in your business in the time that you were away. Was it positive? Was it negative? Just want to, hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess it was pretty scary stepping out of the business for 2 weeks. I went to Bali for 2 weeks, but I guess what I found was, in terms of the team, it gave them that time to actually develop and grow. So I gave a few of them different roles to help manage the studio, and I found that, you know, they did it really well. And the studio was in one piece when I got back. So yeah, I mean, I left one of our trainers, Alex, to look after the emails and make sure all the client calls were done. And they did a really good job of it. So I think you know, stepping out of the business can quite often actually be really beneficial for the team, because it puts them under the pump and it allows them to have the opportunity to take on those roles. I guess sometimes we could be scared to give them.
Wonderful. It's always a good sign of leadership when you step out of the business and your people actually work harder when you're not there than when you're there.
Yeah.
Firstly, thank you for being so open and honest and sort of giving us a bit of a window into your life running a fitness business. I've certainly found it quite insightful. And what I want to do now is just offer an opportunity to everyone who's on the call to chime in and ask a question direct to James that he can answer for you. So if anyone's got anything they've written down or a particular response that James has given that you want to delve a little deeper into, want to open up the floor for you now just to chime in and fire away.
Cool.
Just make sure your microphone's off and question for James.
Oh, whoops. The questions?
Any questions? Anyone got anything they want to ask while we've got James on the call? He's got a PT business currently doing over 400 sessions a week. A lot we can learn from that. Nope.
Are we meant to just yell out or type it in the chat box?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, go for it. You can just yell out.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so you mentioned about your marketing. What were you spending? What did you bump it up to? What worked? What didn't?
Yeah. So what worked really well for us was our hour of power. So what that is we go down to one of the cafes in the plaza downstairs, and we buy coffees for people down at the cafe for an hour. We would spend about $100 on coffees down there. And on average, we probably get around 10 leads and probably get in contact with about 3 or 4 people and convert 1 lead out of those 10. So that works really well for us. The other one was doing a referral competition. So we did one back in, I think it was May, and that was nominate a mum. And we actually got 40 leads from that. So that was where the clients got the opportunity to nominate a super mum for 9 weeks of free personal training. We gave out 1 9-week program, and we called the rest in for 2 weeks of free training. We actually ended up spending about $2,500 extra a month over the last 3 months and saw a massive growth from that.
Yeah. Okay, so $2,500 off a base of like 1,000.
So we bumped it up. So we were spending about $2,500 a month, and then we bumped it up to $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So we doubled it.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah. Went crazy.
And you saw an increase in influx when you went from 2.5 to 5, James. Was the difference quite evident? Yeah,
definitely. It was double the amount of leads. I don't have the exact numbers on me now, but the studio's grown 3.5K extra a week over the last few months. So yeah, definitely worth the spend.
Yeah. In terms of retention, you mentioned that was a big problem for you. What did you do other than just spending more time in the gym to solve that problem?
Definitely worked on the service standards, and how we did that was gaining more feedback. I got really lazy with the feedback calls, and I dropped off on that. So I made sure that I got in contact with every single client who did a goal session every week and got feedback off them. And that just improved the service, and it saved people from dropping out. So it was all from mostly from feedback calls and just improving standards in the studio.
And just for those that aren't too familiar with the Vision system, so every 9 weeks, a person who's taking a personal training program will do a formal goal session where they sit down for an hour with their trainer and review their results. And on a Monday, usually is when you'd normally do it, James, you'd get a list of every person who's had a goal session in the last 7 days, and you'd call them and get feedback and ask them about their last 9 weeks and what they're looking forward to. So it's just a really great way that you can touch base with clients regularly who have just had an assessment to make sure they're content, they're happy, and they're enjoying the process and enjoying their training and they're enjoying the results they're achieving. So that's a really kind of embedded Vision system that I think is a really great one to adopt and consider implementing in your business.
Yeah. Another one was also the forfeit calls as well. So as well as the goal session calls, we could actually see the clients who aren't turning up to their sessions. So it's important, I guess I found it really important to call the people that weren't coming in, because quite often if we had clients who were forfeiting or not coming into a session regularly, they'd be pretty likely to actually drop out or leave the studio. So making sure we call them to ask them if there's anything we can improve on or change their session time.
Right.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Joe.
No worries.
James. Open it up to anyone else who wants to chime in and ask anything specific of James. If you like, you can type the question in as well on the chat box and I can ask it to James, or you can just chime in and ask yourself, whatever you prefer. Okay. I think that might be it.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, if we've got no more questions, there's a few screens flicking at the moment. I think that'll be it, James. So again, another big thank you for giving us your time on the Thursday. It's a little bit early. It's pretty time, but I appreciate you logging in just to share some insights. I think there's been a few really valuable gems that have come out of that I hope people can sort of take away and sort of reflect a little bit more on. Obviously, we've recorded this, so this will get posted on the Gym Hub site as well for any of you that want to go back and review the specific content. But if no one has any questions, I think we can leave it there.
Cool.
Thanks
If anyone has any other questions, feel free to shoot me a message through Gym Hub or Facebook. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Good on you. Thanks, James,
Cool.
and thanks everyone for taking the time to dial in, and certainly look forward to talking to you all really soon. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. See you, John.